Good morning everybody. Today is Friday and it's Friday the 30th. Towards the end of the month, I am always really busy. I always have so much to do, and today is the same. I've got a lot to do. I've got to do my colour pencil portrait from yesterday that I sketched out. I've got to do all that as a real-time tutorial for Patreon. I started off this morning by editing yesterday's vlog and also doing the thumbnail, so that's ready and scheduled to go up. I've got the dog here who's doing her usual, which is nothing, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes, look at you. You just want cuddles. So yeah, I'm going to get straight on now with doing a colour pencil portrait. I'm going to try and get it all done today. I might have to work on it throughout the night, I think, because obviously I can only do it when it's really quiet. I have to do it mostly when people are asleep, so I might have to wait until then, and maybe Darby's going to have to sleep on the sofa whilst I get it done. I don't know. Hopefully I can get most of it done today. I am only going to be using 2 pencils for this portrait actually. I think it's really important to do a tutorial where I just focus on demonstrating how to get a really good contrast and depth in the portrait. I feel like a lot of people focus too much on picking the right colours and don't focus on the values. So I'm using brown tone paper and I'm just going to use a black and white pencil to really demonstrate how you can get a realistic look without having lots of colours, but just by focusing on getting the shadows and the highlights in the right place and to the right sort of values. Instead of doing the portrait straight away, I decided to go and post the prints because I was thinking it's actually Good Friday and I think the shops might close early, so I just want to make sure that they definitely get sent off before the weekend. And then me and Darby are going to get some lunch. I don't know where we're going to go yet. We're just going to go into town and see what we fancy. The prints have been sent off and now we're going for lunch. We decided on, yet again, Frankie and Benny's for lunch. We're just eating some starters and we're talking about lots of businessy work stuff. We decided to get this sharing platter with lots of stuff on it. We've not tried it before, but we think it's going to be really nice. And we've got some garlic bread coming, and I've got a barbecue wrap, and Darby ordered, what did you order for Maine?
The all-American burger. Well,
very nice.
Mac and cheese, as well as like a burger and bacon on it as well.
We are just on our way home from lunch and it's absolutely pouring it down like usual. We're gonna go and walk the dog, but it's just far too wet and she would get soaked in this.
Look at that.
I've been working on the portrait for a couple of hours now and we are making some progress. I've just got the majority of the face done and later on I'm going to work on the hair and everything else. It's got a very textured look because of the fact that I'm using the pastel matte paper, but it doesn't matter because the fact and the point of this tutorial series is really to focus on the values and getting in those dark shadows and those bright highlights, and I think it's looking really good. Before I get back to finishing off that portrait, I am finishing up putting up the tutorial series on a Patreon of the flower and also the line that I did. And what I do is I always write out, well I always try to write out the colours that I used for that series. So I've just gone through my pastel set and picked out all of the colours that I know I used for this series, and I'm just about to list them all here. And I've got to do the sketch outline for this one before I put it up and attach the reference image. So I'm just going to finish off writing all of the different colours, and this one and this series is for $5 plus patrons. So I did the flower in pastel pencils, the lion in watercolours, and also a girl in graphite pencils as well. It is now 2 AM and I've just finished doing the portrait for the last Patreon series for this month. This is the finished portrait of Michonne. I am so happy with how this came out. I only used a black and white pencil for this, a blending stump and an eraser, and I love the results. So this will be available on Patreon in real time very soon. And like I said, in this tutorial I really wanted to focus in on the shadows, getting in the right values, and show that you don't need to have loads of colours to get something looking realistic. It is really important to focus on those values. So let's finish off the vlog with a couple of questions, and the first question is, how do you grow your business on Patreon? So Patreon is something that I started 8 or 9 months ago. It was in last June was when I started it, and I've been working on it very hard for 8 or 9 months, and it's something that I put a lot of my time into, like I said yesterday. And I think the key to growing a successful Patreon is to not think about what you want to get out of it. but to focus on what the people that you want to pledge to can get out of it. So really focus on creating really valuable rewards, whether that's information based like tutorials. I'm assuming like you're talking about it from an artist point of view, so whether that's art tutorials or helpful content, or whether it's something like fan based content like prints and sort of more physical products, or artwork like commissions if they pledge a certain amount, stuff like that. So there's different ways to go with it, but you have to think about the value they are getting. They're not just going to pledge to you, well, they can do sometimes, but quite often they'll want something in reward for their pledge. And with Patreon, it's not like YouTube. With YouTube, you can subscribe to as many people as you want, whereas with Patreon, you're not going to really pledge to 20 different creators. So in a way, you are competing a bit more than with YouTube, because people only are going to pledge to maybe 1, 2 or 3, maybe 4 people, but there is definitely a limit to the amount of people that they're going to pledge to. So you really need to offer something good so that they are willing to pledge to you and you beat out the other people that they're thinking of pledging to. You need to win that sort of top spot by just having really valuable content that you're going to provide to them. And I think that's just why I've been really successful on it, because I've provided a lot of value, an extremely high amount of value each month, with lots of new tutorials for not that much per month. And I think that's why I get a lot of patrons, not because I'm doing something really unique to everyone else, but more because I'm providing more of what you want at a lower rate, really. And all of the tutorials I do are real time, which I think is a really big seller for my Patreon, because all my YouTube stuff isn't really real time, and it's something that people really want and find really valuable. It's information and education that it's hard to get everywhere else for such a low price. So that would be my main tips for that. The next question is, can you do a watercolor basics tutorial, and when did you become interested in coloured pencil work? I've actually got a lot more watercolor tutorials planned, so you can expect to see more of them. And coloured pencils, like I said, it was about 3 years ago that I got really interested in coloured pencils, and I remember why. It was because I was watching a few YouTube videos. It was firstly Lockery's and then Heather Rooney, and I always thought coloured pencil was just this thing that didn't really create really good pieces of art. I always thought it was quite amateur. Like, I've always just seen like Crayola coloured pencils. I've never seen high quality coloured pencils. But when I seen their artwork and seen that you can create really photorealistic portraits and animal studies with coloured pencils, and you're able to maintain control and have coloured pieces of work, because I wasn't really into painting that much. I didn't like that you couldn't get the control. I like the control of the pencil, but I really wanted coloured artwork, not just black and white all the time. So that's when I started it.
I told you to get into coloured pencils.
What do you mean?
Because you kept doing black and white, and I was like, that's boring, do something more colourful. So that was, so I'll take the credit for that.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? Well, it was a long time ago. It was all down to me, basically. It was. It really was.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
It was years ago when you were just doing like.
I know it's years ago. You
just started doing like charcoal and graphite or whatever it was. It was just black and white, and I just said you should do coloured pencils. It's more colourful and it's more interesting. I'm getting no credit today. I get it.
Next question is, how do you manage to keep up with your Patreon and your other social medias and YouTube, etc.? This is something that is actually quite challenging, and it was something Darby was looking up earlier actually. He was looking up best ways to like manage our time and do all of these things, because at the moment I just work quite a lot of hours to get everything done, and I really want to work smarter rather than work harder. At the moment I work a lot of hours, and I really want to focus on time management, especially because we now work together. It will be good to actually get into more of a routine and figure out a good schedule that works for both of us to get a lot done. But really at the moment, a main way that I sort of handle it is I make sure that when I do Patreon tutorials, I can somehow use those drawings for YouTube videos. So a lot of the time you'll see that I do my Patreon videos as like sped up versions for YouTube. But yeah, that's sort of a way that I make sure that I don't have to create content for both Patreon and YouTube all of the time. There's still some times where I just keep stuff on Patreon and make extra stuff for YouTube as well. Social media, again, because I'm taking photos of my artwork, it's not like extra content that I have to make, but it does take a while to set up all the cameras and that for that. Social media is something that I'm slacking on a bit lately with Instagram and Twitter. You need to keep like motivating me and telling me to post, because I keep forgetting. It gets to the end of the day and I'm like, I didn't do any Instagram posts. But I think overall a main way that you can manage it is just to be committed. It's going to be a lot of hours. If you want to like run a Patreon site, do social media and do YouTube, you need to know that it's not something that you can do like just for a few hours a week. It's going to take a lot of time if you want to do it properly, and if you want to get up like 2 or 3 videos on YouTube a week, it's going to take a lot of time. There's no shortcuts to it. You have to make the quality content, and if you're committed and it's something that you want to do as a career, then you have to be prepared to work a lot of hours at the start to reap the rewards in the future. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to work really hard for the next few years, well, more than that, as long as we can, until we become successful enough that we can live the type of life that we dream of.
Exactly, after our children.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand when, like I say that I'm 20, Darby's 22, we're very young. People don't understand why we stay in so much and work so much. Like, why don't we go out and enjoy ourselves, like going out, you know, to clubs, drinking and stuff like that. But it's not what we want to do, it's not what we enjoy, and it's not our goals for life. And I think if this is something that you want, and YouTube, social media and your own sort of self-employed business is what you want as well, then you'll have to make sacrifices, and that shouldn't be hard if this is really what you want to do. But just know that it's not easy at all. Even if you think YouTube is easy and it's just like this fun YouTuber lifestyle that's really easy, it's not. It does take a lot of work. It is fun, but it does take a lot of work. And the last question that I want to answer is, what pot noodle flavour do you most dislike? And does Darby draw or paint? Wow.
Is that an actual question?
That's an actual question. I didn't make that up. Okay, so the pot noodle flavour that I dislike the most, the first one that comes to mind is the sweet and sour. I absolutely hate that one. Because I think it's because yesterday I said my favourite pot noodle flavour is the beef and tomato.
Oh, okay.
What's your favourite?
Chicken and mushroom.
That's your favourite?
Yeah.
That's so, well, I suppose beef tomato is ordinary. What's your least favourite pot noodle? Put you on the spot here, aren't I? Come on, what comes to mind first?
Most,
Come on.
they do it, it's probably the, they do a rib one, like a sticky rib. That's not that nice. That's not nice. Or like the, they did a reggae one, like a beef, like a jerky, like Jamaican beef one. That was rank.
And do you paint or draw?
No, not at all. I completely, I can't even say this. I despise, like, I couldn't think of... I couldn't...
You're talking to a load of artists
Yeah,
here.
I know. It's just not for me. It's not for me at all.
Despise. That is a strong word. Despise.
I have no interest in drawing or painting
Have you ever gave it a go?
At school?
Yeah, but that don't count. I hated art at school, let's be fair.
Yeah, it's just not an interest of mine at all. No.
What's your hair doing? Look at this, guys. Anyway, that is it for the questions. Please comment loads more questions because I love answering them. As always, I'll pin a comment and pin a comment, and you can just ask all of your questions there. But that is it for today's vlog, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye everybody.